Welcome to the Grow Your Business and Grow Your Wealth podcast with Gary Heldt. Gary is an expert in helping business owners put together a plan that will provide a better future for their businesses, themselves, and their families. On the podcast, Gary interviews other professionals who share his vision, and together they share secrets and strategies any business owner can use to build a better financial foundation for your business and your life.
Welcome back to the podcast. Today, our guest is Justin Donald, who has been named by the Entrepreneur magazine as the Warren Buffett of Lifestyle Investing. Welcome, Justin.
Thanks for having me, Gary. I appreciate being on the show.
Appreciate your time. Can you tell us some about yourself and how it is that you got into, the investing and where you are right now?
Yeah, well, I've just always loved the idea of having assets produce income. So, from an early age, I read books that kind of enlightened me on this whole idea that you could do it. I definitely didn't learn it from family or from school, from education, but I read, books on my own self-education that kind of opened my mind to it. Robert Kiyosaki was a great, mentor, whether he knows it or not. Right. Just reading, virtually every book he ever wrote. It got the wheels turning at a very young age for me. And I just learned that there was a different way to go about making a living, that I didn't have to do it based on my time, that I could do it based on other assets that I own and putting capital to work. It just sounded really intriguing. And I figured if someone else could do it, I can too, as long as I just copy their model.
Right. So can you go into a little for us about lifestyle investing, because that's kind of a new name. Everybody's kind of heard of the traditional investing. Can you tell us what the difference is and how lifestyle investing has suited you?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to do that. And in fact, to me, this is really one of the reasons, one of the things that drove me was the fact that conventional investment wisdom failed me. And I remember just getting, returns in the stock market on a managed portfolio from an advisor that, basically the company and the advisor represented that my returns were better than they were because they were using average rates of return. But when push came to shove, I noticed that I didn't have anywhere close to the amount of money I should if that were my actual return. And so I felt like I really got punched in the gut when I learned that, that you could actually lose money, like have negative money. I lost money when my average rate of return was positive. And so that gave me a really sour taste in my mouth. And I just knew there had to be a different way and a better way. And so in my process of kind of learning the different types of investment opportunities and strategies there are, one of the things that I learned about was cash flow investing. And really for me, I coined the term lifestyle investor and lifestyle investing because I wanted it to be a lifestyle first type of investment. If I can invest in a way that is independent of my time, that actually buys me more freedom to do the things that I want to do, spend time with my family, travel the world, just have all kinds of cool experiences. I can do that because of strategically investing in a way that supports what it costs me to live my lifestyle. And so the whole idea of lifestyle investing or becoming a lifestyle investor is that instead of having a job or earned income that covers your bills, I would much prefer to have assets or asset income that covers my lifestyle expenses. And so that's really, kind of the genesis of that term. And it was, my mission for a period of time to not only cover my bare minimum expenses to survive, but my actual lifestyle that not only I was living, but I desired to live in the future.
So you started doing this and in less than 2 years, you've really been able to, from the start of that, you've really been able to generate a true income where you and your wife don't have to work and so forth. how much was it that you started with? I mean, because everybody is probably sitting thinking, oh, you had a nice big huge nest egg that you got to start with. So can you tell the listeners kind of where you started from when you got into it?
Yeah, and I think this is another, way that really bucks the traditional investment type of system. You've got Wall Street that really wants your money, and therefore there's an education given in schools and via commercials and financial institutions that they need your money and they're going to give you a good return. And so this whole idea of nest egg investing until you have so much that you can cover your retirement and maybe live on the interest. I mean, I think that that's probably unreasonable, but that's kind of what is touted. But if that doesn't work, then you're eating into principal and eventually it goes down to zero. So in my mind, there's just a lot of hope that goes into that strategy. And, there are different strokes for different folks, and that may work for some people. I think it's probably not going to work for the majority of people. And so, for me, I said, hey, why don't I, instead of trying to accumulate this huge nest egg, why don't I buy assets that produce the income that covers what it costs us to live? And the first income that I wanted to replace was my wife's income. So at that time, my wife was working as a teacher. She was a high school teacher. And she's a great teacher, but the schedule that teachers have is really rigorous, at the start time, the end time, no flexibility, and for anyone that wants to get ahead, they're probably doing extracurriculars or sports like my wife was during summers or after school. And so, when you think about that and you think about the schedule, there's not a lot of flexibility. So I said to myself, all right, well, my wife is making $36,000 a year. And that's, before taxes. So less than that, obviously. How do I replace that? How do I invest in an asset that's going to produce that? And so that was the first thing I looked at is how do I invest in a way where I can help replace that income? And so our first investment was actually in a mobile home park. And that mobile home park was a $65,000 down payment, but that $65,000 yielded a very strong return for us. It was a 36% cash on cash return. And so basically what ended up happening is that one investment was close to what my wife's after-tax income was, or post-tax income was. And it allowed her to be able to stop working, and we could focus on the next property that would then cover all of our lifestyle. Well, not technically not our lifestyle, just our bare minimum expenses at that point in my life.
So when you, sorry here. So when you go, there's so many questions, I can't get them all out at once here. So assets, where you're saying that the assets are earning the income for you, or producing the income for you. So, lots of times what comes to mind, I mean, you said that the RV park, but, most of the time people are thinking of real estate. What are some of the flaws that people have when they think of, oh, I'm going to invest in real estate?
Yeah, I think there are a number of different ways you can do it. The way that I don't want to do it is to invest in real estate in a way where you focus on the appreciation of the property and not the cash flow. I think that's the wrong strategy. I personally want to focus on something that cash flows today and that I can get a loan from either a bank or from the seller of a property, and I can profit above and beyond the expenses and the debt service involved in that property. And so that to me is a really great way to do it. There are a number of different cash flowing investments that exist. You've got single family homes as an asset class, single family home rentals. You've got distribution centers like e-commerce type of warehouses. You've got apartment complexes, mobile home parks, RV parks. You have all different types of cash flowing investments that are available under the banner of real estate. And we don't have to just stick to real estate. There's a lot of other investment strategies and asset classes that can be used, especially in the world of debt investments or in the world of investing in operating companies. But from the standpoint of real estate, I mean, anything that cash flows to me makes a lot of sense. There are other options where you can kind of flip it real quick, but that to me is not a foundational investment, I would do that once I had the cash flow to cover my lifestyle.
Gotcha. So now you do some coaching where you coach a couple people a year type thing, high end. When you're coaching them, what assets are you coaching them to look at, and how is the methodology behind finding these?
Well, my goal is to educate people on how to cover their lifestyle income. So I have a lot of people come to me that are either entrepreneurs that had a big exit, or entrepreneurs that are a slave to their business and need to find a way to escape that, or maybe even a high-paid executive that also has a similar situation where they spend so much time doing their profession that they just don't have much time. They'd like to buy their freedom back. And so I have a select number of people. Generally, I don't exceed 6 people a year, and often it's just 4 people, but that's kind of my sweet spot. And that's a one-on-one deep dive where I work with them. I really dig into their numbers and I figure out what it is that they need to learn based on what their level of financial literacy and education is. And so my goal is to expose people to this idea that there's a way to earn the cash flow that you need today without buying something or investing in something that's going to create another job. And ultimately, it should be helping someone get rid of a job or get rid of responsibilities. And a lot of people don't know that once you start escaping earned income and start earning passive income, that there are a lot of tax incentives to that as well. So there's just so many different strategies. But my goal and what I teach people, and everyone's a little bit different, everyone's journey is a little bit different, but I want to help educate people on all the options that exist from an investment standpoint. What are the different asset classes? What are the risks? What is a reasonable return? How can you negotiate extra kickers and better terms into your contracts? How do you structure a contract that's really good, that there's no wiggle room in, so it protects you? How do you find invisible deals that no one else is finding, that just aren't available to the general public? All these things are strategies that I use with my one-on-one private coaching clients.
So, with these clients that you have, the one-on-one, obviously, they're paying for your services, but you also have a book that's going to be launching soon. Can you tell us some about that?
Yeah, so the book's called The Lifestyle Investor. And really the goal here, so the subtitle is The 10 Commandments of Cashflow Investing for Passive Income and Financial Freedom. And the goal here is there are a lot of people that cannot afford the one-on-one private client services that I offer. And so I wanted to have a book that could appeal to anyone, that could help anyone at any price point. And I've got a podcast that goes right alongside it as The Lifestyle Investor, because I want there to be resources that people can have and use, even if they don't have the means to be able to, work with me or someone that does what I do. I don't think there's anyone that really does what I do, but someone that does more of the alternative assets and non-conventional type of investment strategies. And so I think it opens up a lot of doors for education on, a cheap or free level that anyone can participate in if they have an interest and a desire to learn and grow.
So, right now, obviously, COVID's going on, and the election we think is over. How has this affected you and what you do in your lifestyle investing?
Oh, it's a great question. And I appreciate you asking it, because I think most people are really getting hit hard with some of the, trials and tribulations of COVID. Knock on wood, my portfolio has performed really well. And in fact, most of my investments and asset classes are up because my goal is to really pick recession-proof, not to say that I was trying to pick pandemic-proof investments. That thought never really entered my mind at all. But because I was thinking in terms of recession-proof assets and assets that were safe and backed by collateral and just very strong positions, or in sectors with, operating companies that would actually thrive in a virtual setting, it has really created a boom in my personal portfolio. And it has been really great for everyone that has been participating in investments from, my mastermind to my investors club. And so we feel really blessed because we know it's a tough time for a lot of people, but for us, it has been a real positive to the investments, not only the amount of deal flow, but the negotiations that we're able to get, some of the terms that we're able to get, we've just never seen before, and just the quality investments overall. It's really been a blessing.
So you mentioned your mastermind group that you have. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I mean, obviously you have your one-on-one coaching, and then you have your mastermind. How does one get into this mastermind group, and what do you guys discuss during this?
Yeah, it's a limited, very exclusive group here as well, but it's kind of like one tier below the private client coaching. So I don't take as deep of a dive with individual people, but I cover concepts with our group, and we just have an absolute blast. So we have a meeting where we deep dive on a topic once every month. We do some fun happy hours, virtual happy hours. We have investment opportunities that are available just for this group, and I'll have people come and share the opportunity and give exclusive deals and exclusive terms just for our mastermind. And so it's part education, it's part deal flow, and more than anything, it's just exposure to a world that these individuals likely had never experienced before, and maybe had never even thought existed before. And so we just have a lot of fun, and the group is really sharp. So sometimes people say, hey, what are all the benefits of it? What all do you bring to it? I actually say some of the biggest benefits of the group are actually the group members themselves, more than anything I would ever say and teach, because it's experts in their own fields. And all these people are smart and successful and savvy. And so it's neat seeing everyone kind of give and contribute with their expertise and the value that they can provide. One of the big things I say to anyone I interview, because everyone has to interview with me to be able to get in. And so I have, pretty high decline ratio, but the right people make it in. And one of the questions, with these individuals, or one of the concepts that I say is I don't want people that just consume. I want people that are going to produce, that are going to give, that are going to share as well as consume. And so we've got a great active group of that.
So, going through everything that you've gone through so far, and kind of looking back and, when you first started, so what is it that you know now that you wish you knew when you first started out doing this?
It's a great question. When I first started, so first, I wish that I had more of a hands-on mentor. I wish someone would have poured into me the way that I have started working with many of my clients. So part of the reason I do what I do is to help people that were once like me, that wanted to learn and were eager for knowledge, but didn't necessarily have those resources or those mentors at the beginning. Now, luckily I did get them, and I was very intentional about finding them. But also early on, I thought I was kind of deceived. I thought you had to have a lot of money to be able to invest in stuff. Right. And realized over time is that if you just find a good enough deal, there are plenty of investors out there just looking for good deals. And so, those two things, I wish I would have started my education journey sooner, but I also wish that I would not have allowed not having the money to be a limiting belief or a roadblock to me actually taking action years before when I could have.
So tell us, what does your ideal client look like for your coaching group, and then also your mastermind?
Well, for the coaching group, it's generally going to be an entrepreneur, high-level entrepreneur that has likely exited their business and they're sitting on cash, unsure what to do, and worried that they're going to spend down the principal and not be able to create the cash flow they need to cover their lifestyle. Often, though, it is still entrepreneurs that are currently active and engaged in their business and just either want to find a way to sell their business or want to find a way to scale their business without them, or executives that are in a similar situation, except it's not their business, but they're working the same type of hours and kind of have the golden handcuffs. So that would be most likely on the one-on-one private client side. For the mastermind, we've got people of all different shapes and sizes and backgrounds, and it's been really fun. I mean, we have some people in the franchise space, franchisees, franchisors. We've got some people that are corporate executives. We've got other people that are 1099s. Some people have their own small business. Some people have a medium-sized business. Some people have exited a business. Some people have a business that they are actively looking to exit. So we've got literally a little bit of everything. We've got a couple of employees that they're not executives. They just have great jobs. We got a couple of very successful sales guys, a sales guy, a sales gal. So really just it's quite a wide array of different types of people.
That sounds really neat because of having so many different people, varieties, different backgrounds and stuff like that. So it sounds like these groups that you put together are really interesting.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, we have one of our members is a doctor, and she knows so much. So anytime we've got a question about anything, COVID, health, you name it, I mean, she knows it all. She works in an ER. It's just, we really have someone that is in like almost every industry. It's really cool.
That is cool. So tell us about a deal that you've done that you're really proud of. If it was your first deal or a deal that you helped somebody put together, give us a good story.
Sure. Well, to me, I think there's one experience that when you officially have financial freedom, it's the greatest feeling in the world. But you only experience that once yourself when you do it. And then from there, it's just setting different goals. So actually for me, some of the most exciting opportunities I've ever had is when I'm able to coach other people to be able to experience that. So I'd say my favorite stories are, stories where I've helped my friends, because before I really did this professionally, this was something that I just did as a passion project on the side with a bunch of my friends. And so I coached many of my friends from being employees or being small business owners that really everything, all their income was just a component of the time that they spend doing their job. And I've been able to coach them through various vehicles, some of them real estate, some of them debt vehicles, some of them operating companies, some of them, franchises specifically. And I've been able to coach them to be able to step away from their jobs and be able to live a life of complete passive income.
That's awesome. I mean, it's really nice that, you got your passion originally from yourself, but then, be able to pass it on to others. And it truly says how much you stand behind the lifestyle investing. If somebody wants to try to get a hold of you and, maybe get into one of these groups or, listen to your podcast, where is it that they find you?
Yeah, the best place probably is just my website, justindonald.com. And there are free resources there. There's an opportunity to learn more. I've got even an online course that a lot of people absolutely love. And it's, the lowest cost item that I have. And so a lot of people just like that it's kind of an easy first step into learning more. But I would just say any resource that someone's looking for or just trying to figure out what might be the best fit for them, it's got it all from free to, high cost to medium cost to low cost.
Well, really appreciate your time today. I'm looking forward to your book and reading about, the investment lifestyle. Today our guest has been Justin Donald, and lifestyle investing is his main thing that he does. He does a lot of coaching and really works in living what he's saying that he does. Justin, I really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Gary. Great to be here. I appreciate you taking the time to have me on your show.
This show has been produced by Market Domination, LLC. To discover how you can have your own show completely done for you and turn it into a real published book and become the authority in your marketplace, go to www.marketdominationllc.com/podcast offer.